So the same thing with the Twitter feeds of the U.S. government that are supposed to send messages that the U.S. point of view. These don't go very far, and I think because the U.S. government doesn't give them much to work with, so they basically take whatever's written in English, publish it in Arabic, so they don't have any kind of breaking news or statements from Obama that could put them on the map. That is one reason. The second reason is they aren't sexy, they aren't identifiable. If you want to take an example of somebody who is very successful in attempting to counter the very bad image of his country, you can think of the Israeli spokesman.
This is about Regev.
No, the Arabic spokesman.
Oh, right.
So, sorry?
Afghai.
Yeah, so Afghai. So he tweets in Arabic. He posts on Facebook in Arabic. He is very popular, not in a loved manner, but in a ridiculed manner. However, his posts do get read. If your ultimate goal is that your posts get read, his posts do get read. People share them, people make fun of them, especially when he quotes from the Quran. And it's so interesting that a lot of activists in Egypt and across the Arab world, quote him and poke fun of him, but he's shared and he's very much followed. And he doesn't.
So that would be a success in your.
That would be a success. Yes, I mean I don't agree with his message at all, because he speaks for an occupational force.
But he's in the conversation in a way that
he is
the
involved,
Americans are.
exactly. So the Americans don't have anybody. It's like Euronews. There was no anchor. You don't know who was presenting this channel. The channel didn't have an identity, and that's what Avichai brought to the conversation. He brought an identity. He brought a face of an Israeli military person who I think sometimes he changes his image to wear civilian clothes, but in general he is an IDF spokesman. He's not even an Israeli government spokesman. He's an IDF spokesman.
Okay, now that's interesting. I mean, how about Al Jazeera, which was of course one of the great engines of the Arab Spring in 2011? I mean, is that still a player in this, or has it been overtaken by others?
Al Jazeera's dominating role has been completely usurped by other channels. It's still a very popular channel, but at its peak, Al Jazeera claims to have had 80 million viewers. There's about 330 million Arabs, give or take 10, 20 million. So they would have a sizable, maybe a third, if not half, perhaps even half the viewers of television tuned into Al Jazeera at the peak of the Arab Spring between December, January, February, and March. No doubt, Al Jazeera had tens of millions of viewers. However, the channel lost its CEO, Wadah Khamfar, who tried to start a think tank. Always risky. But now he's moved on to Huffington Post Arabic apparently. So I think after he left, although he's quite associated with the Muslim Brotherhood, he didn't let it become too overt. The newer management, I think, allowed a lot of pro-Muslim Brotherhood rhetoric
at a time when the Brotherhood was incredibly divisive.
Yes. So a lot of pro-Muslim Brotherhood messages were being broadcast. I think much to their own disadvantage. The channel lost a lot of credibility, and then when the Muslim Brotherhood were kicked out of power in the summer in the coup of July 3rd, 2013, the channel almost became hysterical with regards to all its guests, because all these spokesmen had left Egypt. They ended up in Qatar. So perhaps 90% of its guests were either spokesmen of Al Jazeera, of the Muslim Brotherhood, or members of the Muslim Brotherhood. So there was a giant tilt to guests and people who came in to give opinions, and even the coverage was slanted towards the Muslim Brotherhood. Now, because there's a huge conspiracy theory mindset in the Arab world, Al Jazeera didn't go far enough, and it always catered for the Islamists. You had other channels that popped up, including a channel called Al-Mayadeen, which I bet many of you haven't heard of. So Al-Mayadeen is founded by an ex-Al Jazeera anchor, Ghassan bin Jiddu. He's half Tunisian, half Lebanese. He was seen to have sympathies with Hezbollah. He left Al Jazeera, started Al-Mayadeen channel, and it is very, very popular. and their coverage is very pro Hezbollah, but they do get a lot of guests from Hezbollah. It's very interesting to see their coverage. And then finally, I think another channel that benefited heavily is Russia Today. Russia Today, surprisingly, isn't a very popular channel maybe in the English-speaking world. However, in the Arabic-speaking world, it's a very popular channel, and it represents the
broadcasting in English or Arabic?
Broadcasting in Arabic.
Okay.
Represents the conspiracy theories that the Western hands are behind all of the trouble. That any conspiracy theory you can imagine is given a lot of credence on Russia Today, Russia al-Yom in Arabic. One more channel I should say is doing quite well is the BBC Arabic. There was a report out 2 weeks ago about how BBC Arabic, although very boring, although very stale, has, because of its very conservative coverage of the news, has gained at least a slice of Al Jazeera and Al Arabiya and these channels, some of their viewers.